defiance among the stars. The observation deck of the UES Horizon offered a panoramic view of Earth's orbital shipyards, now mostly ruins. Captain Elena Reyes pressed her palm against the transparent aluminum, watching distant explosions flare across the lunar surface. The Krellans had arrived 6 months ago, their massive fleet cutting through humanity's defenses like paper. Now they were systematically destroying every human colony and outpost across the solar system. "Captain," a voice called from behind. Elena turned to find Commander Jackson Chen, her tactical officer and friend of 15 years, standing rigidly, at attention. "Admiral Weston is waiting in the war room." Elena nodded, taking one final look at the burning shipyards. The Horizon was humanity's last true battleship, an experimental vessel equipped with technology that might be their only remaining hope. At 42, Elena had never expected to command such a ship. The position had come after the death of her predecessor during the Battle of Mars Junction. The corridors of the Horizon buzzed with activity as crew members rushed to complete final preparations. At nearly 1.8 kilometers long, the ship represented the pinnacle of human engineering and desperation. Elena entered the war room to find Admiral Weston's weathered face on the main screen, flanked by the remaining Joint Chiefs. "Captain Reyes," Weston began without preamble, "Europa Station has fallen. The Krellans breached the ice shields 3 hours ago. We've lost contact with all ground forces." Elena absorbed the blow silently. Europa Station had housed over 2 million civilians in its underwater habitats. "Your orders, sir?" The Admiral exchanged glances with the others before continuing. "The Security Council has voted. We're initiating Protocol Omega. All remaining ships are falling back to Earth for a final defense. Civilian evacuations to the deep bunkers begin immediately. Protocol Omega, their last resort." Elena had hoped never to hear those words. "With respect, Admiral, the Horizon is equipped with the experimental Nexus drive. We have a chance to take the fight directly to them." General Santos leaned forward. "The Nexus drive is untested in actual combat conditions, Captain. The risks are less than the certainty of extinction." Elena interrupted. "Falling back didn't save the Martian colonies. It won't save Earth." A heavy silence fell over the communication. "What are you proposing, Captain?" Admiral Weston finally asked. "Let me take the Horizon behind enemy lines. Intelligence from the captured Krellan scout suggests their command nexus is in the Arcturus system. If we can strike at their heart, maybe we can end this." "That's a suicide mission," General Santos said flatly. "Maybe, but it gives Earth a chance." Elena stood taller. "The Horizon was built for this, and so was my crew." After a lengthy pause, Admiral Weston nodded. "The Council will need to approve this deviation from Protocol Omega, but I'll support your recommendation. Prepare your ship." "Yes, sir." As the transmission ended, Elena turned to find Dr. Lyra Patel standing in the doorway. The civilian scientist looked as if she'd been there for some time. "So we're really doing this?" she asked. It wasn't a question. Dr. Patel was the primary architect of the Nexus drive, a brilliant physicist who had dedicated her life to developing a propulsion system that could create artificial wormholes. Her perpetually disheveled appearance belied one of the most extraordinary minds on the planet. "We are," Elena confirmed. "Is the drive ready?" The scientist adjusted her glasses nervously. "Theoretically, yes. But Captain, we've only run simulations. The actual mechanics of creating a stable wormhole—" "Will it work, Lyra?" Elena interrupted. Dr. Patel hesitated. "I believe so." "Then that's good enough for me." The next 6 hours passed in a blur of preparations. The Horizon had been on standby alert, so the ship was already at combat readiness. But a mission of this magnitude required special measures. In engineering, Chief Engineer Marcus Wong supervised final calibrations of the Nexus drive. His team worked tirelessly on the experimental technology that would carry them farther than any human had ever traveled. "The power requirements are enormous," Marcus explained during Elena's inspection. "Each jump will drain our reserves by almost 60%. We'll need at least 8 hours to recharge between jumps. How many jumps can we make safely?" 3 maybe. 4 if we push it. But I wouldn't recommend more than 3. Elena nodded. That should be enough to reach the Arcturus system, if they survived that long. In medical, Dr. Sofia Rivera prepared for casualties. The simulations suggest Nexus sickness might affect up to 30% of the crew, she informed Elena. Symptoms include disorientation, nausea, and in severe cases, sensory hallucinations. Can it be treated? I've developed a compound that should help, but without actual cases to study, it's still experimental. This whole mission was experimental, Elena thought, but didn't say. On the bridge, Navigation Officer Lieutenant Kira Navarro worked with Tactical to plot their course through uncharted space. Based on the captured Krellin data, their command nexus should be here, she said, pointing to a spot near Arcturus. That's over 36 light-years. Even with the Nexus drive, that's farther than anyone has ever gone. First time for everything, Elena replied. As preparations continued, Communications Specialist Ensign David Okafor approached privately. Captain, I've intercepted something you need to hear. He played a decoded Krellin transmission. The translation was rough, but the message was clear. The Krellins were organizing for a final assault on Earth. They were calling it the Purification. How soon? Elena asked, her voice tight. Based on their projected movements, 5 days, maybe less. 5 days, just enough time for the Horizon to reach the Krellin command nexus if everything went perfectly. The timing couldn't be coincidental. They know about the Nexus drive, she realized. They're accelerating their timetable to stop us from using it. As departure time approached, Elena addressed the crew of 284 men and women through shipwide communications. These were Earth's finest, brilliant minds and brave hearts who had volunteered for a mission from which they might never return. Today we leave behind everything we've ever known, she told them. Our mission is simple but vital, to strike at the heart of an enemy that has ravaged our system without mercy. The people we leave behind are counting on us, not just humans, but every survivor of every colony the Krellins have destroyed. She paused, looking around the bridge at the determined faces of her senior officers. The odds are against us, but throughout history, the greatest victories came when brave people stood up against impossible odds. That is who we are today. That is the legacy we will leave, whatever comes next. As the Horizon broke Earth orbit, the remaining ships of the human fleet created a diversion near Venus. Under this cover, humanity's last battleship activated its experimental drive. Space itself seemed to fold as a brilliant blue-white vortex formed ahead of the ship. The Horizon plunged into the artificial wormhole, leaving behind only a fading ripple in space-time. The journey had begun. Heart of the storm, the first jump. Through the artificial wormhole left a third of the crew incapacitated. Dr. Rivera moved through the corridors of the Horizon, administering medication to those worst affected. The ship's stabilizers had failed during transit, causing additional injuries from equipment collisions. How many? Captain Elena Reyes asked when Rivera reported to the bridge. 87 affected, mostly mild cases, but 23 severe. I've got them sedated and medical. Elena nodded, masking her concern. Almost a third of the crew affected after just one jump. Will they recover in time for the next jump? Most should. The severe cases, I'm not sure. Elena turned to Chief Engineer Wong, who looked exhausted. Status of the drive? Recharging. Power levels at 41% and climbing slowly. We should be ready for the second jump in about 10 hours. He hesitated. There's damage to the particle containment field. Nothing critical yet, but each jump will put more strain on the system. Can it hold for 3 jumps total? It should, but I wouldn't guarantee a safe return trip if we push beyond that. Elena absorbed this silently. They had known the risks. Keep me updated. I want to know the moment we're ready for the next jump. As Marcus left, Lieutenant Navarro approached with a star chart. Captain, I've been analyzing the data from our first jump. The good news is we covered more distance than expected. Almost 13 light-years. The bad news is we've detected increased Krellin activity in this sector. She pointed to several blinking red markers. Scout ships, possibly, They seem to be searching for something. Us, Elena said. They must have detected our wormhole signature. Communications specialist Okafor turned from his station. Captain, I'm picking up scattered transmissions between Krellin vessels. They're definitely looking for us, but they seem confused about our exact position. Good. Let's keep it that way. Elena studied the chart. Kira, plot our next jump to take us through this nebula. The ionized gas should help mask our signature. Yes, Captain. Commander Chen approached from tactical. Captain, weapons check complete. All systems operational, but we had power fluctuations in the forward particle cannons during the jump. The team is working on stabilizing them. We need those cannons. Commander. Understood. I've got our best people on it. As the hours passed, the crew settled into repairs and preparation for the next jump. In her quarters, Elena studied the limited intelligence they had on Krellin biology and technology. Something about their rapid advance through human territory bothered her. Their tactics seemed too perfect, too precise, as if they knew exactly where to strike. A knock at her door revealed Dr. Patel looking troubled. Something's been bothering me about the Krellin transmissions, the physicist said without preamble. May I? Elena nodded, and Lyra brought up a holographic display of the captured Krellin data. Look at these energy signatures from their ships. The quantum fluctuation patterns are familiar. Familiar how? They're remarkably similar to what we observed in early Nexus drive tests. She pointed to matching wave patterns. It's like they're using a more advanced version of our own technology. Elena frowned. That's impossible. We only developed the Nexus drive in the last 3 years. Exactly. Yet here they are, with technology that works on the same principles but is far more refined. Before Elena could respond, the intercom chimed. Bridge to Captain Reyes. Go ahead. Captain, we're detecting a massive energy spike from the nebula ahead. Something big just arrived. On my way. She turned to Lyra. Keep working on this. The bridge was tense when Elena arrived. The main view screen showed the swirling gases of the nebula, illuminated by intermittent energy discharges. Status report, she demanded. A Krellin Dreadnought just jumped into the system, Commander Chen explained. It's at least 3 times the size of the horizon. Have they detected us? I don't think so. They're conducting a standard search pattern. Elena considered their options. They needed to pass through the nebula for their next jump, but engaging the Dreadnought would be suicide. Tactical analysis, she ordered. Chen brought up a holographic display of the Krellin vessel. Their hull composition is similar to their smaller ships, some kind of advanced carbon lattice material. Heavily armored, but our forward particle cannons could potentially penetrate it. The problem is their weapon systems. They outgun us, 5-1. Elena studied the display, noticing something unusual about the ship's design. What's that section near their engines? Chen zoomed in. Unknown, based on energy readings, possibly their jump drive. Elena remembered Dr. Patel's observations. If the Krellins were using similar technology to the Nexus drive, their jump drives might be their weakness, she realized. The Nexus drive requires enormous power and precise containment. If we could destabilize their containment field, it could trigger a cascade failure, Chen finished. But we'd have to get close. Really close. And we'd only get one shot. Elena agreed. She straightened. Lieutenant Navarro, plot a course through the densest part of the nebula. We'll use the gas clouds as cover to approach. That'll expose us to intense radiation, Captain. Navarro. Warned. Divert power to the radiation shields. Dr. Rivera, prepare medical for radiation exposure cases. As the horizon slowly entered the nebula, visibility dropped to near zero. The shields hummed as they deflected the worst of the radiation, but warning lights indicated rising levels throughout the ship. The nebula is interfering with their sensors, Chen reported. They haven't detected us yet. Maintain course, Elena ordered. Weapon status? Forward particle cannons charged and ready. We'll need to get within 5,000 kilometers for maximum effectiveness. The minutes stretched agonizingly as the horizon crept closer to the massive Krellin vessel. 1,000 kilometers, Navarro announced tensely. They're moving, Chen warned. I think they've detected something. Hold course, Elena commanded. Prepare to fire on my mark. At 2,000 kilometers, the Dreadnought suddenly turned toward them. Its massive weapons arrays began to glow. They've locked onto us, Chen shouted. Fire, Elena ordered. The horizon's forward particle cannons unleashed their power, the concentrated beam striking precisely at the Krellin ship's jump drive. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a blinding flash erupted from the Dreadnought as its containment field collapsed. Get us out of here, Elena shouted as energy readings spiked off the charts. The horizon turned hard, engines straining as the Krellin vessel began to break apart behind them. A massive shock wave of energy raced outward. From the disintegrating ship, brace for impact, Elena called, gripping her command chair. The shockwave hit like a physical blow, tossing crew members and sending damage alerts blaring throughout the ship. When the chaos subsided, Elena looked up to see stars through the view screen. They had been thrown clear of the nebula. Damage report, she demanded, helping a fallen officer back to her station. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, Chen reported. Emergency containment holding, engineering reports, the Nexus drive is offline. Elena's heart sank. Casualties? 28 injured. No fatalities yet, thankfully. She activated the ship-wide. Kamsu. Dr. Patel to the bridge immediately. When the physicist arrived, her expression grew grave as she examined the drive's diagnostics. The containment housing is fractured, she explained. We can't safely generate another wormhole without repairs. How long? Lyra hesitated. Days, maybe weeks. And we'd need specialized equipment we don't have on board. Elena stared at the tactical display. They were still 23 light-years from the Krellin command nexus, and Earth had less than 5 days. Then we continue at sublight, she decided. Maximum, emergency speed. Captain, Chen protested, that would take years. I know, but we can still complete the mission. She turned to communications. Ensign Okafor, prepare a data package with everything we've learned about the Krellins, their technology, tactics, and especially their vulnerability. Include Dr. Patel's observations about their jump drive technology. What are you thinking? Lyra asked quietly. The Horizon can't get to their command nexus in time, but this information can. Elena faced her senior officers. We're going to launch our long-range probes modified with stealth technology. Each one will carry the complete data package back to Earth through different routes. Do we have enough probes to make a difference? Chen asked. We have 12, Elena confirmed. If even one gets through, Earth will have a fighting chance. The next 18 hours were spent preparing the probes and compiling all intelligence they had gathered. Dr. Patel made a critical discovery while analyzing the data from the destroyed Dreadnought. Their entire fleet uses the same jump drive. Technology, she explained to the assembled officers. The same vulnerability. The Krellins have been so successful because they can jump their ships with precision throughout a solar system. But that advantage is now their weakness. As the final probe was being prepared, sensors detected multiple Krellin vessels approaching their position. They've found us, Chen reported grimly. 3 destroyers and what looks like another Dreadnought. ETA 12 minutes. Elena nodded. Launch the probes, all of them. One by one, the probes shot away from the horizon, each taking a different trajectory through space. Bring all weapon systems online, Elena ordered. We need to buy those probes time to clear the area. The bridge crew moved with quiet efficiency, preparing for a battle they couldn't win but had to fight. Captain, Chen said softly. It's been an honor. Elena looked around at her crew, the best humanity had to offer. The honor has been mine, Commander. Now let's make sure those probes get through. As the Krellin ships appeared on the view screen, the horizon turned to face them. Weapons charged. Elena thought of Earth, of the billions waiting for a miracle. Perhaps today they had delivered one. For Earth, she said quietly, then louder. All batteries, Fire. The lone human battleship surged forward, guns blazing against the darkness, buying time for humanity's last hope to escape into the depths of space. The battle was fierce but brief. Yet in those final moments, the seeds of the Krellin's eventual defeat were already racing back toward Earth, carrying the knowledge of how to fight an enemy that had ravaged the galaxy, until a lone human battleship had entered orbit around their greatest secret. 3 weeks later, when the Krellin fleet approached Earth for their final assault, they found not a helpless planet awaiting destruction, but a prepared enemy who knew exactly how to target their most critical vulnerability. The tide of war had turned. Humanity would survive, and the stars would remember the sacrifice of the UES Horizon.